So, with the wrap on recording the third book in the Spectrum series, I thought it might be fun to share a quick few videos on how I record an audiobook. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jason Burkhead, and I am an actor. But while I'm no stranger to the stage or on-camera work, I have been really focused on the voice acting side of things because it provides a much larger scope for approaching characters. I have been in the voice field for a few years and have several audiobooks under my belt. Check out The Subject and the Scientist by Montana Stayer and the Spectrum series by Samantha Mina when you get a chance. They are my most recent audiobooks. The first video will be about starting an audiobook. My second video will be about some tips for preparing and recovering when doing a long story with several characters. And my third will include a few tips based on how I edit my audio files. Much of my free time is spent doing auditions and trying to network to find my next project. Many of my projects have come through ACX, which is run by Audible. But in the case of the Spectrum series, I was lucky enough that my sister was able to meet Samantha at a con as she was marketing her second book in the series. A few emails later, I was sending her a few samples for an audition to produce the audiobooks with her. We agreed on a budget for the project, and she sent me the full manuscript for book 1. When I work on a fantasy book like this, it is helpful when the author or rights holder sends me a pronunciation list for the names that were made for the book. This is also something I seek out for books that take place in foreign countries. The first Spectrum book had a lot of prep work that I put into it because I was learning the characters and needed to develop a way for the characters to sound different from each other, but not pull you away from the story. I took an internal approach for many of the characters to develop how they would sound. Cease has a force in his voice that draws from his whole life being the best representation of the Ichthyothean military. Scarlett's voice was the hardest because I knew that she would be a strong focus in the books and didn't want to attempt a fake female voice. So I took her experiences from her tragic past and her desire to remain distant and unnoticed to make her voice shine withdrawn. As the books continue, you'll notice that her experiences cause her to become more forceful, and I pull that forward with her voice. While I know that many people say that you should read the full book before you record, I tend to just read the first half before I begin to record for fiction. Because I focus on characters, I try to keep emotions as fresh as I can, and I don't like to feel that anticipation of a twist and risk pulling out from the moment. That isn't to say that I don't read the chapter before I record it. I just try to do it as close to recording as I can to hold the emotional content true to what is going on. So that is my lead-in for everything before I record. I hope you enjoyed this little look into my process, and I look forward to my next video on preparing for a long recording session and how I recover from doing some of the more taxing voices.